Good morning, mainly for Shannon. Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, fellow colleagues. It's a great pleasure to be among you today in this specialized webinar dedicated for adventure tourism. Those who don't know me, allow me just to briefly introduce myself. My name is Adel Amin. I'm a tourism expert working with the CBI, the Dutch government, for a program, a tourism program here in Jordan. It's a great pleasure to be among you once again. My background is hotels. I worked in tour operators before being the Deputy Managing Director of the Jordan Tourism Board and Marketing Director as well. I wish to take this opportunity to start by thanking our partners, JASTA and its chairman and board members. Thank you very much for this initiative. I thank as well Jaitawa, the chairman, the executive director, board members for your initiative as well, and this partnership with CBI, the Dutch government, in making this happen, and hopefully throughout the coming 4 years of the duration of the program. I wish also to thank Mr. Shannon Stowell, who made it today, although it's very, very early in the US. Thank you, Shannon, for being with us. Mr. Stowell is the CEO of the Adventure Travel Trade Association in the States. His Excellency, Mr. Sharhabil Madi, it's a great honor to have you with us, sir, so that you can as well brief us about Aziza and the Golden Triangle and what's happening down there. Lena, thank you for being with us, Lena. You will be talking about the Adventure Committee, which was formed lately, and of course, Mr. Barqawi and Mr. Hakim Tamimi from JTB. Before going into details, I just wish to give the floor to Mr. Sohail Halase. Mr. Halase, if you can please address the audience in a couple of words. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Shannon. It's my pleasure to be with you. This is the first time for me, and it's my pleasure to be with you. The people who don't know me, my name is Sohail Halasa. I'm chairman of JASTA. On behalf of our colleagues and the board of JASTA, we are welcome you, all of you, and I would like to thank CPI for this webinar to explain how can we deal together, and especially thanks for Mr. Shannon and your colleagues for everything. I really appreciate Mr. Adel. Since we came on November, you stand behind us and give us a push to do this webinar. Thank you for all my colleagues and my sectors here on the webinar, and I hope we can benefit from this webinar for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Halase, for your kind words. If I may, I would like to give the mic to my colleague, who is traveling a lot. I mean, where are you now, Alison?
I'm currently in Rwanda. The photograph behind me. Yes.
There you go. So Alison, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Hello. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Adele, for hosting this event and for your welcome. And I'd really like to thank everybody who's attending. We've had an amazing turnout and response to this, and despite the predicted weather, which I gather is still to arrive, thank you for tuning in from home. Let's say my name is Alison Berg. I'm part of the CBI's tourism program in Jordan. So over the next 4 years, I'm going to be working with your associations, with JTB, with JESTA, JITOA, Aziza, and other associations, really to work with them to help you build your businesses, and particularly in relation to selling more to Europe. The CBI very much focuses on the development of exports to Europe, so the growth of sales of tourism to the European market. And a very key part of this is understanding which market segments are particularly of interest to you and the products that you, experiences that you're creating for visitors and how you're selling them. And understanding how and who to reach in those markets. And the CBI produces a wealth of market information. And I'll be looking at some of that, particularly in relation to adventure tourism later on. I'm also one of CBI's specialist tourism market researchers and have written a lot of their reports. So at the end of the session, I will point you to where you can find this information and look into that in more depth. So thank you very much. Hand back to Adele.
Thank you, Alison. We look forward to the information you're going to be presenting, especially the market information at the end of this session. So I call to all of the attendees to bear with us until the end so that you can view what Alison is going to present concerning the European market in particular. Any industry needs definitely coordination and cooperation between all entities in order to achieve the desired goals and successes. The important roles of associations in different industries, and especially in tourism, is quite vital. Taking initiatives, overcoming challenges, and looking into the needs of the members and the sector as such. I give the floor to my dear friend, Mr. Ashraf Barqawi from JITOA, the Executive Director, to talk a little bit about what's happening in the sector and the members and JITOA. Please, Mr. Barqawi.
Thank you, Mr. Adel. Thank you, everybody, for attending today for this very important webinar. I believe it's very important about the adventure tourism. But first, let me thank CBI for their continuous support to our members and towards JITOA. Well, actually, everybody, JITOA started to work closely with the Minister of Tourism in a series of meetings in regards of developing and unitize the adventure tourism regulations and framework. The result was the establishment of adventure tourism committee, which is a very great news that we have now adventure tourism committee, and we are working closely with everybody, governmental associations, private sector. Everybody is on board. All stakeholders are there, making their proactive contribution about the adventure tourism regulations, and in order at the end to have a realistic regulations for the adventure tourism, and also to put the general framework for the adventure tourism back on track again with a very positive or a very realistic realistic regulations and rules. Also, all of this will be under the umbrella of the ministry. For me, as an executive director, on behalf of my chairman and the board of directors, we are assuring everybody that JITOA will spare no efforts to work closely with everybody.
Ashraf,
yes,
Mr. Ashraf, your mic is not clear. Could you just adjust it properly, because we can't hear you properly?
Now you can hear me?
Yes.
أظن عم بخبط بالجرزاية أشرف.
خبط بالجرزاية؟ طيب.
أظن عم بخبط بالجرزاية فعم بيطلع التشويش.
Again, on behalf of the chairman and the board of directors of JITOA, we are assuring everybody that JITOA will work closely with everybody in the market in order to have a suitable and a very comprehensive adventure tourism system to handle all the upcoming regulations it's going to be handled. During this webinar, my colleague
Ashraf, can you hold it like this?
Yes.
Yes.
Now you can hear me, everybody. during this webinar, my colleague Lina Khalid will give a detailed presentation about the committee's work mechanism. Thank you all. But at the end, I also would like to thank His Excellency Mr. Naif Faiz and Dr. Imad Hijazin for their magnificent support in order to establish the Adventure Tourism Committee. Thank you, everybody. And back to you, Adil.
Thank you, Mr. Ashraf. Definitely the thanks goes for our government, His Excellency Mr. Naif Faiz, the Secretary General, and the entire team of the Ministry of Tourism, who is playing an incredible role in leading the sector in such difficult moments, along with JTB, Dr. Arabiyat, and the rest of the team as such. And I think Malia is with us here. Malia, long time no see. Hopefully we will communicate very, very soon. Before going into details and calling on our dear friend from the US, Mr. Shannon Stoll, who will be talking about the challenges, the latest trends of adventure tourism worldwide, not only in Jordan, but again, looking into the areas where Jordan has some unique features. I wish to inform everybody that if you have any question you would like to address Mr. Stoll, you can post it on the chat box, where after Mr. Stoll's presentation finishes, we will pick 3 questions. We will address it to Shannon, where he can answer accordingly. The rest of the questions we will answer you through emails after the webinar finishes. So Shannon, if I may give you the floor, sir.
عادل بيك.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Madi.
أنا عندي ما في إلا أنت يعني only you as active, all the other colleagues freezing.
Okay, may I ask please to turn off your cameras because of the internet connection is not really stable in Jordan. Only the moderator and the one who's speaking can have their cameras on. Hopefully this will solve the problem, Your Excellency. Shannon, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Adil, and everybody that is involved in the event today. I'm very grateful to be invited, and thank you to all the parties. My relationship with Jordan goes back a long ways, so I'm honored to be asked. I've been many times. I've overseen 3 events that we've put on in partnership with our friends at JTB, both from Amman and North America, and many partners around Jordan. And I miss Jordan, I really do. As I told Malia recently, I've been locked down for the most part like everybody else, and Jordan is one of the places I cannot wait to return. It has a special place in my heart. And in fact, every morning I think of Jordan because I still have a coffee trivet where my coffee mug sits that somebody from Jaitoa gave me in 2009, a little mosaic. So I think of it every day. I just came back from Brazil yesterday. So that was my second international trip since COVID started. My first was to Panama. So I've been in Latin America and seeing a little bit of what's happening in international travel. But admittedly, I've also been stopped like almost everybody else, almost completely. So we actually just put on our first in-person event in the US. So that was also a really interesting experiment for us to see, is the industry ready to come back together? And thankfully, it went very well. And there were 250 people there. JTB was represented by Malia Asfour, North America, and it was a wonderful event. So I'm going to share for about 20 minutes today just some of the things that we see happening, and some of those might be applicable to you, and others may still not make total sense because not much has made sense in the last 2 years, and things are different almost everywhere. So I'll share my screen here, if you'll give me just a moment. Is that visible, Adil? Perfect. Okay. So this is a photo from my last trip to Jordan, actually, and that was with the group from Travel Leaders back in 2019. And so today I'll jump right in. I'm going to start with two pieces of encouragement, two pieces of news that I hope make you feel better about where things are going. What we found is that Euromonitor and our organization found through data and interviews that we believe adventure travel will recover earlier than most of travel. And there's a number of reasons for that. I won't go into all of them, but I'll tell you one that I don't see anybody reporting on, but I think is one of the most important, is that adventure travelers identify themselves as adventure travelers. If they're a hiker, if they're a cultural explorer, if they're a birder, it's who they are. If there's somebody making a decision about whether to buy a new car or go on a trip, that is not somebody who's necessarily identifying themselves as their self-identity as an adventure traveler. So I think that the adventure travelers will actually return more quickly because they have to. It's very important to them personally. The next piece of good news comes from the World Bank and the WTTC. And if you'll look at this, this was a questionnaire that went out to all of the WTTC's members asking, what do you think are the most important and very important and less important parts of tourism for recovery? And you'll see that adventure and nature-based ecotourism was #1. Domestic was #2, and I realized that different markets have different levels of success with that. Wellness and spa, cultural, and then you can see cruise and business and events are in the most trouble. I'm actually not worried about events for travel organizations because travel is a human business where humans sell trips to humans to go see other humans. And so as we saw at our event in Arizona 2 months ago, it was full, it was sold out. We had 27 hosted buyer spots for our upcoming event in Panama, and we had more than 100 buyers apply for those spots. So I worry more about technology conferences, things like that it's gonna be a really hard road back for them. But the good news is for adventure, eco, culture, wellness, these are all sectors that are considered by the authorities in the world as the most important. So I'll be very brief on this, as many of you probably already know. We define adventure travel as a combination of nature, culture, and activity. So it isn't necessarily skydiving or ziplining. It could be hiking. It could be spending time with Bedouins learning about the culture. It could be hiking a day or two on the Jordan Trail and then going to a spa at the Dead Sea. The point is nature, culture, and activity are the components of an effective adventure trip. And these are just some examples: nature walk with photography, hiking and wildlife. And the reason I bring this out is that many people tend to think that adventure is very extreme when in fact it is quite accessible. And most of our members offer itineraries that are accessible to most people, most travelers. Here's some more examples. You might look in here and see trips or activities that you offer or combinations thereof. I won't read all those, as I'd like to spend the time talking about more nuanced issues concerning today. So I'm going to jump into trends now. First of all, bizarrely, maybe not bizarrely, but counterintuitively, consumers have showed an increased interest in sustainability during the pandemic. And the CEO of BlackRock, the world's largest asset holder, more than multi-trillions of dollars in assets, they're the ones that called this out first and early in the business community and said, this is counterintuitive. People actually care more. We thought they would care less about sustainability, but apparently the pandemic is making people think. So this is something important as you think about marketing Jordan, marketing your trips, thinking about how you develop, how you're actually building your trips. Sustainability is not something to shortcut right now. And I know that makes it hard because it's an additional effort and burden in some cases, but this is going to be a demand by more consumers than pre-pandemic, which is surprising. But here are some of the things to be paying attention to, hot trending activities. And this was data that we took in 2020. Obviously, 2020 and 2021 almost came to a full stop, but we believe that these will be the trends that pick right back up because they're going to fit the new desire of the traveler, because travelers are less and less interested in crowded places, large buildings, large cruise ships. They're going to be interested in smaller groups, more remote locations, and being with people that in general they know who these people are for obvious reasons. Some of the consumer motivations for adventure travel: they're looking for new experiences. They want to get off the beaten track again to get away from other people. They want to travel like a local. Some people say they want to travel like a local. They still want their culture, their human comforts, creature comforts, but still they want that local flavor. They want that experience. And they do want cultural encounters at different levels. Some people want to camp at Wadi Rum. Some want to stay at the Dead Sea and do day trips and go have cultural encounters. Wellness and betterment goals. And then last chance travel is more a reference to places like Greenland, where there's disappearing assets because of climate change. And then here are some of the hot trending high demand trips. Custom itineraries. This has been happening for years. I think custom itineraries has been at the top of our survey for a decade now. And I think this just shows people want exactly what they want, which makes it harder for the tour operators. But it is something to keep in mind, that the more you can customize, the more you can capture. So they're thinking about impact. Electric bikes are all the rage now. And in fact, I ordered an electric bike and it took me almost a year to get one because of supply chain problems. And I had to go through a friend who had a friend who knew somebody at a bike company. So I realized that might be hard if you don't currently have bikes. So it may take some time. Expert guided trips. People no longer want to just be driven around on a bus and take photos and then say, I took a photo of that place. They want to know, what is that mountain? Tell me the historical importance of this drink, of this meal. Remote places, trails. The Jordan Trail, the timing of the Jordan Trail a few years back was brilliant. And I think you're going to find that is one of your strongest assets in the coming years. That trails are a thing now, and they've been growing for years, but now people think in terms of trails that they want to experience around the world. Wellness again, and then self-guides, where people, they want help creating their itinerary, but they're okay doing a lot of it on their own. So this is a new trend. I'm watching this on internet forums as well with tour operators. Here's some helpful marketing and sales tactics. I just wanted to throw this in there. Word of mouth is still number one. The best thing you can do is create customers that are so happy that they go back and tell all their friends and family and put on social media what an incredible experience they had. It's the highest conversion. Partnerships with tour operators, email, you can see how these things work together. And I'll make this available. I will send this to you, Adil. So if there's anybody that wants to look at this later, you don't have to take notes furiously right now. I'll absolutely share this.
Thank you very much. That was my next question to you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
So one of the important things about adventure tourism is that 65% of the money spent by the traveler stays in the destination. In mass tourism, it's often significantly less, often 10, 15% stays. And in this case, most stays because the traveler wants to stay with the local hotel, wants a local guide, wants to eat in the local restaurants, is going to buy handicrafts and music. And then you can see the per day average trip price. So generating $10,000 US in the local economy takes 100 cruise tourists, 9 package tourists, or 4 adventure travelers. Now, these are adventure travelers that are coming with a tour operator or bought an itinerary through a travel agent. The solo backpacker that wanders through is not in this result. That's a different category. And we don't really follow that category because we're in the business of working with tour operators, outbound, inbound, et cetera. So you can see some of the statistics here about mass versus adventure. And this is actually a Jordan study. And by the way, the study was done in Jordan. We share this data at markets all around the world. We're actually always talking about Jordan because of how much work we've done in the country. So just know that you have us out there cheering for you. So I went through that very fast because I want to be able to spend a little time sharing some other thoughts, because all of this information is stuff that we've published before. You may not have seen it, but it's out there. You know, that the reality is that we've all gone through an incredibly difficult 2 years. I just saw that the UNWTO reported that even 2021 was 72% down over 2019, and that's just devastating. That's international travel. Here in the US, we had a really strong domestic market, but it had really strange aspects to it too, because new people were coming into the space. So we had people with loud music going into wilderness areas and people leaving trash. I talked to somebody in England who said that people were coming and camping in remote areas and then deciding they don't like camping, and they would just leave all their stuff. So tents and backpacks, and they would just abandon it. So there's some strange things happening within domestic tourism as well. I'm not as familiar with Jordan's domestic situation. I know that Petra had a really hard time, but the Dead Sea fared better. So I know some top line information, but obviously you know more than I do. I really think that 22 is still going to be a mixed bag due to a number of factors, and it depends on destinations, on a lot of factors. What are the regulations? How strict are the COVID guidelines? I talked to an adventure traveler yesterday here in Colorado, where I live, and she asked me how it was coming back from Brazil. And I said, well, you know, it's a little more complicated. I had to find a pharmacy 24 hours before I left, which is not easy because I was in remote Brazil, and I had to get a test, but we did it. We got it done. And she said, yeah, I'm going to wait until it's easier. And which worries me. It worries me that people are thinking that way still. So I'm hoping that there will be more and more relaxing of regulations. I understand why they exist. I am fully supportive of it. I'm somebody that really wants to see the vulnerable protected, but also I think we're reaching a point in this crisis where not moving forward is actually as dangerous as moving forward. So I think we're at that inflection point, and Omicron appears to be a little bit weaker. Just to share with you, I caught COVID myself and recovered because I was vaccinated. I had a fairly easy recovery. And I know that's not the case for everyone. And I know there hasn't been equal access, which is something that we're fighting for at the ATTA and some of our partners, for access to vaccines, because I think that's the path forward, and that for staying closed forever just is not an option. It's going to crush all the little businesses in tourism out there. I think 2024 is probably when it's going to get more robust, just to be honest. But there's opportunity, and I do think adventure travel is going to fare better. And I mean that in the broadest sense: cultural, wellness, nature, eco, culinary. So Jordan, I think, is very well positioned for that, to be honest. And although I would love to say everything is trending up and everything's hot and revenge tourism is going to save us, I still think it's going to be a rough year. But it's not the time to despair. But this is the time to really improve your own operations. And I've talked to a number of operators that are using this as an opportunity to do that, to improve their marketing materials, to explore partnerships with others, and so on. So one of the things that is worrisome, and this is something I think airlines, governments, and businesses are going to have to really think about. This is something I haven't been hearing a lot about. And I told a colleague this the other day. I want to hear somebody analyze this problem. And I just read The Economist, the magazine, just had a year ahead publication where they kind of predict what they think is going to happen in 2022. And the editor has one page to talk about the whole globe and all the economy. And he actually gave travel one paragraph, which shocked me because travel is often invisible in that environment. But travel has had such a blow and is so important and was so underappreciated before the pandemic. And so now people are starting to understand how serious losing travel is. So he said one of his biggest concerns was business travel is not going to recover like some of the other sectors. And the reason is that business meetings don't always have to happen in person anymore. And a lot of people, including myself, have rethought some of our past behaviors. Should I fly to New York for a meeting with one company, even if it is important, even if they demand it? In the past, I had to. Now I don't. I can say, let's do Zoom. And they'd say, absolutely, let's do Zoom, because they don't really want me to come to their office either. Now, this is not the case for leisure travel, for adventure travel, but for business travel, it is going to take a real hit. And I served until last month on the board of Visit Seattle. And that's exactly what they saw. Google, Facebook, everybody just said, you know what, let's just make our conferences virtual for the next year. It's not even worth trying to figure this out. So the problem is that business class fares have supported a lot of leisure travel opportunity to make leisure travel airline tickets cheaper. This is one of my personal concerns, is that it may take governments supporting airlines for a period of time to help this come back, because the leisure traveler is not going to make a decision if they're looking at, I'll speak from an American perspective. If I'm deciding, should I go to Costa Rica with my family for $1,000 per airline ticket, or Africa for $3,000 or $4,000 per ticket? I'll save Africa for, down the road. I'll go in the future. So I really hope that there's going to be extra support for the airlines on this, so that leisure travelers can continue to afford. We said this before the pandemic, and I still believe this. I think it's even more important now that cooperation is going to be key. And your competition is not other travel companies in Jordan. Your competition is fear and costs and other destinations and other uses for people's money. Americans have more savings than they've ever had in the past. I don't know what the situation is in Europe for that outbound market, but Americans are ready to travel, but they have lots of options to consider now. And if there's any fear, so don't think about your competitive, your person next door in Jordan as competitive. Find ways to work together. And we're seeing some really encouraging opportunities or situations around the world where companies that competed before are really coming together to say, hey, let's co-market. How about you attend this event and represent us? We'll attend this event and represent you, et cetera. And governments and donors need to support this part of the industry. We actually were saying this before the pandemic too, because the truth is that nobody gets into specialized travel to become wealthy. It is a hard sector. People do it because they're passionate, because they want to share their culture. They want to show people the Jordan Trail, the Dana Nature Preserve, in Wadi Rum, Wadi Musa. They want people to experience their world. And so adventure travel companies, ecotourism, cultural travel companies, they do it for the love. But I believe it's one of the most important things for the destination, because it shows the highlights of that destination. It's not saying, here's our hotel rooms, here's where you can hang out. They're saying, here's our people, our food, our music, our culture. So the pandemic has been especially hard on those small businesses. And in regards to regulations, I think it's a balance, right? You want enough regulation in place. And we've been involved in helping develop regulation in Jordan. So I feel like I can say this with a tiny bit of authority and a tiny bit of knowledge, knowing that you're involved and you know it better than I do. But you want enough regulation to be safe, sustainable, and professional, but you don't want it to be so hard that the little tour operator, the little restaurant, the little hotel just eventually says, this is just too much for me. I'm already fighting too many battles. This is one last battle that I don't have the energy to fight. So my encouragement to anybody on this call who has influence and the ability to affect is, those little guys, those little companies are under extraordinary pressure to stay alive during the pandemic. And many were under pressure even when the economy was better. But I think we're now seeing what the fallout of the economy, of the tourism economy, what the effect of that is. So know that we here at the ATTA, and I know I have a little more time later to chat, but we here are here to support Jordan and the Jordan Adventure community. We're here for a lot of communities around the world, but Jordan holds a special place for us. And let us know any way that we can be of assistance to you. I want to close with just saying I still have hope. I still believe that we are in the sector that will recover, and that we have the opportunity to really make the travel industry a better place in the future. So thank you so much. I'm honored to be here and humbled to be asked. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I mean, we are here in Jordan very proud of having you as the ambassador to the country abroad. We consider you one of the most precious friends of Jordan, that I'm sure that wherever you go, you do refer back to our country, where you are always welcomed, Shannon. You're not a friend, you're more than that actually to us. Thank you very much. And as you've mentioned, because of Jordan being a more or less a small country, and I think the adventure aspect, any adventure program could fit easily in any cultural program, in any biblical tour, in any even wellness program that tour operators tailor accordingly. Because as you've mentioned, adventure is not hardcore adventure. I mean, just walking in the forest, maybe taking some fresh air, walking in the Jordan Trail is adventure itself. So thank you very much, Mr. Stowell, for your enlightenment and your beautiful words towards our country. And definitely you will have an opportunity to address the ATTA and what it can do for our sector later on in this webinar. While relaxing on the beach, I think you can go for some snorkeling or diving, or even a tour in Wadi Rum or in Petra. I would like to call on His Excellency Mr. Sharhabil Madi to share with us what Aziza is doing and his views and the plans for the near future. Mr. Sharhabil, the floor is yours, sir. Mr. Madi? Can you hear me, Mr. Madi? سيد شرحبيل سامعني؟ سيد شرحبيل؟
Adil, I was going to say if there's a pause, I could answer questions now to take the time, or
sure. I mean,
I'll give you that option.
Yeah, thank you. Concerning questions, I think that they are still posting some questions.
Okay.
But, having said that,
I'm sorry, Mr. Shannon, sorry, Mr. Adel.
Yes.
Just, I'm calling Mr. Sharhabil now. There is a problem in his computer with the net.
Okay.
Very good.
I will share the presentation with them on the email now.
He will share the presentation through your email, Mr. Adel.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
But
and you can do it because there is a problem with him.
Okay.
Okay,
No
Mr.
problem.
Sharhabil, you can do it right now. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Okay, then I think that we can move on to so Mr. Halas, just to make sure, Mr. Sharhabil cannot even talk.
Let me ask him, please.
Yes, thank you. It's definitely due to the technical issues due to the weather. Among the comments that I see that came from my dear friend Malia Asfour, saying that yes, regulations are being eased as we speak.
Mr. Adel,
Yes, yes, sir.
There is no internet connection at all.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Wadi Musa, yes,
we can
yes.
share the
Because it
presentation of Mr.
starts
Sharhabil.
snowing right now. That's why.
Yeah. Okay, we can share
Okay,
the
Mr. Sharhabil,
presentation of.
just pass by the email for Mr. Adil. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you, sir.
Thank you very much. On to our next speaker. I always have had the problems with him in wearing a necktie. Actually, he never wore a necktie in the office. He was rarely in the office. He was touring Jordan right, left, and center. My dear friend and brother Hakim Tamimi, the head of Jordan Tourism Board Adventure Department. Hakim, it's always a pleasure seeing you, sir. If you can just let us know what JTB is doing and how you can support the sector, definitely a main player in the field. So the floor is yours, sir.
I'm about to speak, but it seems that Mr. Sharhabil shared the presentation.
Okay.
I don't know what the idea is.
Mr. Sharhabil?
Is he trying to connect? He's trying to connect.
Trying to connect. Yeah, fine, but
What do you want, Mr. Adil? Do you want me to tell him to stop?
I mean, until he makes sure that the connection is good, we will continue with Hakim. So he can, once he's sure that he can connect properly, then we can give him the time, please.
I will call him right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, Hakim.
Well, first of all, I'm honored to be in the company of such a team of knowledgeable and tourism expert individuals. Of course, my previous boss, Adil Amin. I'm sorry about the tie. I know you tried, but I have also an image to present, which is the adventure guy, and it's difficult to do adventure with a tie. You know, it might get stuck somewhere, and then we have a real issue here.
Definitely, I really learned a lot from you, Hakim.
They know, and I learned from you. I also want to thank CBI and everyone that helped this event take place. We're all aware here of the importance of adventure and ecotourism in our country and for the tourism industry on a global scale, for its impact on the local communities, on tourism decongestion. The more service providers around different areas in tourism are working and operating, that means that the more these tourists are spending less time and conglomerate in one main destination. In our case, for instance, Petra, if we have more people going around doing other things around Petra, then maybe the visitors will be less focused in one particular timeline. So it's better also for the product themselves. The adventure tourism impact on a fair distribution of benefits, because of what I just said, the fair distribution of benefits of the tourism industry. It also leads to organic jobs being created in otherwise underemployed communities, and shedding the light and bringing forward some service providers who were otherwise left in the background, like rural or even urban women. This act in particular helps one of the biggest impacts of rural tourism development through the tourism itself, the tourism industry. Now more than ever, as Mr. Shannon explained, the demand accelerated, of course, by the pandemic. The trend for nature, rural, open spaces, and meaningful and engaging tourism is high. It's growing. For that matter, Jordan Tourism Board is committed to extrapolate on this. We created a department back in 2017. In this department, we monitor via various big data entities and our own local data, like numbers of visitors, the type of activities that they have done when they came, to identify what geographical areas do we want to target and how to allocate the budget for those efforts, and how to target the right traveler within those geographical areas. The way we increase the number of adventure travelers to Jordan and get new travelers that may be interested. So when we first established the department, it was very much focused on capturing those adventure travelers in different markets. And now, because of this accelerated demand for adventure tourism, we're also helping normal entities to people who were not per se adventure travelers, but now have a big interest in adventure traveling. Of course, when we say adventure traveling, it's broad, as Shannon said. It's not only the technical thing. There's a wide range of that. We don't have to go through that again. And how do we reach these people as a Jordan Tourism Board? With via connecting with specialized operators, creating co-ops, presenting the new product for these specialized operators. Some adventure specialized operators know the adventure market, but know it from the 90s or from 2000, and there's new updates. We have a very active team on the field in JTB. Ahmed Baniani is always on the field, seeing new products, informing us about all these new activities. So we share that knowledge. We create media content, video content, so that those companies can market those new products. So we share that with the specialized ones. And as I said, we're also training the ones who are interested in entering the adventure market, that they have not been necessarily adventure targeted, but now they want to approach a new target within their clientele, and they see that there's demand. So we're also making presentations to them, explaining them about the product, what do we have to offer, what Jordan has to offer. We do co-ops with companies, basically sharing the cost of a marketing campaign of those operators. But in the adventure department, sometimes we like to be a bit more creative. We get really involved in the content. We make sure that we know what is it that we want to show, because we have a certain message for adventure tourism. What is it that we want to focus on to reach the biggest audience possible? And sometimes we involve brands in the co-op marketing campaigns, specialized adventure brands. There's a lot of trust in the brands. We do online targeted marketing campaigns towards either booking platforms or Visit Jordan, the adventure tourism website subsegment. So we work with big data corporations and create marketing campaigns that really focus on the end user, the targeted adventure traveler, redirecting them either to a landing page that has multiple offers, mainly a booking platform, or our own Visit Jordan website. Some of these campaigns we can even follow how successful was it, how many people booked after it. We connect with major adventure associations, entities, clubs, and yeah, we do projects together with Jordan to have more touch points with the clients. In some area markets, the traveler trusts a lot his city club, his adventure city club, rather than the operator. So we work with those clubs too, and we try to invite them to Jordan, get them to talk about Jordan, to create what Shannon said, the word of mouth, which is the most powerful. So rather than that person saying, I'm listening to my operator, what it wants to say, no, I'm listening to my friend that is from the club, and we trust that club. So this kind of reaffirms the word of mouth power in tourism and adventure tourism in particular. We attend specialized adventure travel events. So unfortunately, a big one was canceled, the ITB adventure section. And the adventure travel show hopefully will be attending in London. Whenever we attend these events, we make sure that we have talking space, a place where the audience can see us, sees the Jordanian, breaking the stereotypes, let them see what we have to offer. We make sure that we talk with passion about the product. We create interest in the product. And lately, we've been bringing with us Jordanian adventure tour operators to these exhibitions to help them also target the adventure travel market. And we even make workshops in those destinations. We're happy to work with the local operators too. We've worked with multiple local Jordanian DMCs to explain to them new demands, the products that are popping up and developing in Jordan that they might have missed. With that said, we have run specialized adventure campaigns. We have run specialized adventure campaigns with companies, adventure brands, associations, clubs in France, UK, Spain, Germany, Italy, Brazil, Australia, USA, Canada, UAE, among others. This is basically how we've been operating as the adventure tourism department from a marketing point of view. From a product development, we're now stepping back, but we are very much involved, working first with ATTA for a certain course for adventure guides in Jordan, and then with the French school that we managed to manage the whole logistics of the training Warden Hassan from our team, and hopefully now it's being part of the adventure committee. And hopefully they all get licensed, and we have a whole set of new guides that the companies can use to market new products. One thing that I'd like to leave the industry with is a small data that we have been gathering from here and there, is that all future prognostic indicates that long-haul travel will increase price. Not only upcoming inflation and the fact that some people have less money while others have quite a lot, and those are becoming the new target savings. But as Mr. Shannon mentioned, business travel is dropping, and business travel used to be the main support of airlines so that they could afford to be cheap. So low-cost airline and low-cost travel was already debated to seen as an unsustainable concept for operators, and the pandemic has shown how these airlines, they suffered with this concept. So everything indicates that travel is going to increase, and we believe that Jordan is in a good position actually to capitalize on this, because we have positioned ourselves globally not as a cheap tourism destination. We are known to be a special destination, worth the travel and worth the investment. And this product, the adventure product, helps enrich the experience and justify the increase in our price tag in comparison to whether direct competitors or indirect competitors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hakeem. I'm quite sure that JTB will lead on this. Just one question to you, Hakeem. When it comes to supporting the tour operators with material and content, how can you do that, or is it available, or is there something new coming up?
So one of the first things that we did when the department was established was send a ridiculous amount of photographers to all the destinations that we had very little content of, and we have a very rich library in JTB, and that library is available to all our members. Every time I bring photographers, I make sure that photographers or social media influencers, I make sure that that content is ours and we can share it with the industry. We're constantly sharing our videos with operators abroad so that they could use for marketing purpose. And same thing with the operators inside. We have our own library at JTB, and feel free to contact me if you haven't found access to that library. Feel free to contact me. I'll share with you all the adventure photos that we have, and they're very good content. We've even had photos of adventure lovers in Jordan that shared it with us, and we're happy to help the industry flourish with them.
Thank you very much, sir. And I'm sure that I think that Mr. Ala Al-Hindi as well is with us today, the Director of Communication and Media. Ala as well, I think that he is ready to assist any tour operator in Jordan or abroad in obtaining such material or content. Thank you very much, Hakeem. All the best, and to you personally, and definitely to JTB and management and team. I think that Mr. Sharhabil Madi, now you can at least address us, sir, concerning your presentation. Definitely send it to me. I will pass it over to all delegates. But if you can speak. Okay, great. So you're with us.
Yes,
sir.
yes.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Unfortunately, yesterday and today we have a problem with the IT department and with the connections. And yesterday it's down, and today it's becoming operating. But unfortunately now it is the net. It's very low. So I wanted to give you a wide view about Aqaba and the adventure in Aqaba and Wadi Rum and the Golden Triangle. As we know, Aqaba, it's part of the Golden Triangle of tourism. When we are talking about the Golden Triangle, all together we are knowing that it is Aqaba, Wadi Rum, and Petra. During the last 2 years, we work a lot on adventure tourism, and we concentrate more on the regulating these sectors, especially the scuba dive and the adventure within the desert of Wadi Rum. This was a weaknesses before, but alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, and fortunately it's now one of our strengths. In Aqaba at all,
Yes, Mr. Madi? We lost you? Or you're muted? Mr. Madi, can you hear me? I think we lost Mr. Madi until he establishes his connection once again. I will move to my dear friend, Miss Lena. Lena, can you go ahead?
Yes, thank you, Adel.
Thank you, Lena.
Let me just share my screen. It's taking a little bit longer. Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Yes, go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Adel, very much to you and to the CBI program. So I represent the Medusa project, which is the development and promotion of adventure tourism in the Mediterranean. We are part of a 5-country consortium where Jordan is represented by JTOA and RCN. And we work together very closely as one unit, basically, in developing what we hope will become a better adventure tourism sector in Jordan. So as we've all just heard, and as it was rightly said, Jordan is obviously very well positioned in the adventure market. And it is our responsibility as a sector to make sure that this positioning remains solid and well coordinated among the different sector players. We work closely with the Jordan Tourism Board and the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities to ensure that any actions that are taken by the project are actually beneficial for the sector at large and are sustainable after the life of the project. So one of the prime activities that we have concluded or established as part of the project is setting up the Adventure Tourism Committee. So in November 2000 last year, the Ministry of Tourism took the decision to move ahead with establishing this committee. This is a decision-making consortium of different organizations that are affected or affect the tourism sector in Jordan. It is formulated under the structure of the tourism law and will have its own instructions set by the legal department in the ministry. So the main purpose of this is to create a legal umbrella and lay the foundations and standards for organizing, managing, and operating adventure tourism in Jordan. As many of you mentioned, a lot of tour operators are interested in working with adventure tourism. However, a lot of them also have their worries that maybe the scene is not set correctly. There is a lack in tour guides. What are the standards? How can I operate? How can I make sure that the safety of my travelers is maintained? So this is why this committee was created. The objectives of it are based on 4 main pillars, if we can say so. First of all, is creating a sustainable and stimulating environment for the development and promotion of adventure tourism in Jordan. The second objective is to develop adventure tourism products and upgrade the level of adventure tourism services to enhance the visitors' experience and safety of travelers in accordance with international standards. Build the human resources capacity, again, to enhance the quality of services for the adventure tourism traveler, and create awareness locally and internationally on Jordan's adventure tourism offering. Just a little quick review of the infrastructure we have today for adventure tourism. There are the nature reserves, there are the diving sites in Aqaba, the Jordan Trail that Shannon mentioned before that connects over 50 villages together. There's the bike trail. We have a good number of variety of accommodation establishments that cater to adventure travelers, whether they are very adventure oriented and very simple, like camps and so on, or travelers that prefer their own comfort as well in terms of hotels. We have inbound operators that specialize in adventure tourism, but we also have those that offer adventure as part of a bigger package. And this is where we would like to see more tour operators be engaged with us to see how we can support the sector in adopting adventure tourism and making it more visible through their packages and offering. And of course, we have numerous service providers and experiences that are growing in number. They are really unique and diversified, and they're available across the country. As Maria mentioned in a comment, the social enterprises are a brilliant and a beautiful addition to the adventure travel, where people can, feel the local experience. In terms of the natural resources, whether it's the desert, the waters, the hot springs, the Dead Sea, and the geographic diversity of Jordan, it all is a great platform for adventure tourism development. And of course, not to forget the nature reserves that are managed by the Royal Society for the Conservation of Nature. The nature reserves also create a beautiful experience and are offering a very unique adventure package for those that are more comfortable in being within a reserve area. And cultural resources are obviously many that can be well combined with any adventure program. So in terms of the regulatory framework, when we started working on the strategic framework for the sector, we agreed to take the Jordan Tourism Strategy 21-25 as a base for further work with the adventure tourism. So adventure tourism has been identified in the new strategy as a priority tourism product. And we chose to use the same pillars of the national strategy to build the framework for adventure tourism as well. So we are looking at product development, we are looking at human resources development, we are looking at competitiveness, whether it is from a legal perspective or from an institutional perspective. And then we are looking at awareness and marketing. And the awareness part is for the locals, it's for the population, those that are using adventure sites, it's for the industry that is working with the adventure tourism, what are the laws, what are the regulations, how can you enhance your product? And of course, the marketing component, which is managed by the Jordan Tourism Board. And the overarching element for the adventure tourism, as it is for the Jordan Tourism Strategy in general, is of course the element of sustainability, which we are hoping that we can develop in a much better way through different certifications and criteria as we go forward. So I'm not going to go into the details of this, but this is basically the framework of what falls under each of the pillars, from the product to the human resources to the legal framework to the risk management system. The main idea is that in order for all of this to work out, we need to collaborate well as a sector. We need to collaborate on the level of government, and obviously there are a lot of entities that are not directly maybe related to tourism or adventure tourism, but they are affected or they do affect adventure tourism. And so bringing everyone together is a main target of why this committee was formed. So the structure of this committee is as follows. As I mentioned, it falls under the legal framework of the Ministry of Tourism. It works closely in terms of coordination with the tourism committee that's already existing at MOTA, with the Jordan Tourism Board, with the Sector Skills Council, and the sector associations. It is overseen by a team at MOTA which is the product development department. And at the same time, we have created within this bigger committee a smaller groups or subcommittees, if you wish, that are working on the specific elements that are, you can see here in the chart at the bottom, which represent the 4 pillars. So we have a committee that's looking at awareness and marketing. We have another that's looking at the product development, human resources, and then the institutional and legal framework of the adventure sector. This is a list of the members who are members of the committee. As you can see, it's a very wide list. The committee is chaired by His Excellency, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Tourism. The executive role is performed by the Tourism Directorate for Product Development, who follow up basically on the decisions of this committee and ensure that the implementation of the different parties is also properly followed up upon. And this was a very important element for us, that the decisions made by this committee would be taken seriously, and in order to make sure that we actually progress. So to give you a very quick brief on what's the work plan for the coming year, as Ashraf mentioned before, we do have only one regulation today that that supports the adventure sector in Jordan, and that is only for supporting for organizing the adventure trips. So what we did as a first step, we revised that regulation in confirmation to what Shannon mentioned. There were some things in that regulation that were a little bit unhelpful for the tour operators. So we looked at it as a committee, and I hope that the results of that work will be more encompassing. The good part is that we have private sector members with us who are also specialized adventure operators or service providers, and this helps us in making sure that whatever the committee comes up with is actually in line with what the sector is expecting, and it's operationally feasible. So from the institutional and regulatory perspective, we are looking at creating a higher level umbrella in terms of the laws and regulations. So we are looking at developing regulation for adventure tourism. That will be the main kind of system that regulates all the different pillars that we just mentioned. So from a product perspective, from an HR, from an operation, and so on. We're looking at best practices in adventure tourism operations and safety management standards. We're looking at the sustainability elements as well for developing adventure operations, whether it's services or otherwise, and looking at the licensing and legislative system of how this will work. We don't want to overregulate for sure, but we do want to make sure that whoever is working in the sector is working in a legal way, is working in a way that is sustainable, that is not destructive for the system or the tourism product, and is also a responsible entity or service provider that will take care of the travelers in the best possible manner. From a product development perspective, we started with the basics. Frankly, we are currently looking into developing a database for the tourism locations and the services on a national level. We're trying to organize all the information that is currently available and categorize it in a way with the level of difficulty in the different locations, the accessibility, what's permitted, what's not. We're also looking at the different standards that are existing or non-existing in the sector today, and what needs to be developed. The safety management plan, as I mentioned before, and then assessing the gaps. What do we need more? What do we need to encourage? What areas do we need to support, and in what governorates, so that the benefit is really going across to everyone. From a human resources perspective, similar to the product, we also started with creating human resources database. Many of you will be receiving circulation very soon from the associations and from the ministry, where we would ask you to fill in information. You might find it a little bit long, but we hope you will be able to give us the details. The idea is to be able to build this database so we can reach you at any time, and so that we can continue informing you of all the activities that are happening within the sector and within the committee at large. We're also looking at developing training programs. We all know that there is an issue with specialized adventure guides in the sense that we don't have enough of them, and there is a big demand. So we do hope that we will be able to create a proper educational program for the tour guides, for those who would like to specialize in adventure travel. We are looking into assessing the needs of the local communities, including language, maybe certain skills that would be important to support the adventure tourism sector. From the awareness perspective, as I mentioned, the awareness component is mainly for the local market. We're looking at developing an electronic platform, a digital platform that will be available on a B2B level, but maybe also at the B2C level. And the B2B idea is so that we are able to show everyone who wants to work in the sector what is there available today in terms of regulations, in terms of standards, in terms of facilitation, in terms of grants, in terms of support, everything that is related to adventure tourism. Creating awareness through the social media, of course, will be also an important element of that. Supporting development of responsible adventure tourism marketing plans for domestic and international markets. And the idea here is that sometimes we promote things that are not very well operating. We say we have this product, but then we realize that this product in a certain area is not ready to be advertised. So this is what we mean by responsible marketing. We just want to make sure that if a certain area is forbidden or is limited, to visits at a certain time, that information is clearly passed to you as the tour operators, and then you are able to pass it on to your customers. And the last part under the awareness is we're looking at creating a plan that is addressed to both the public and the donor organizations, that clearly defines what are the next steps in supporting the adventure tourism. And we hope that this committee will be, so Medusa lifetime is basically another year. So we hope after this year, there will be other entities that will be able to support and continue the work that we would be starting at the committee. This was it in a nutshell. I would just like to point out that we have created a number of reports that are Jordan specific on adventure tourism, but they are also market specific. So these reports are available on JITOA's website. They are also available on the RCN website. You can reach to us at any time to get the links if you can't find it yourself, but it's all there. I really urge you to go look at it. It's a very good resource for you to build upon your programs and take information and use it, similar to what Hakeem was mentioning about the JTB library of photos. So you can put all of that together. It also has information about the tour operators abroad that you can connect with in the different markets. I also want to mention that ATTA is an associate member of an associate partner of the Medusa project, and we are very grateful to have them on board. Their support and guidance to the project has been very much very key in our development over the past several years. So this is really it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lena. Very informative, and hopefully, we will proceed more and more in this committee. Definitely, organizing and tackling all challenges are quite vital for the success of the sector and the and this particular product. Thank you very much, Lina. I pass the mic to my colleague, to Alison. In Rwanda, you said?
Yes, I'm in Rwanda at the moment.
Yes, Rwanda. Okay. So market intelligence is quite vital, Alison, when it comes to exploring new opportunities, especially from Europe. I'll leave the floor to you to walk us through.
Thank you. I'll just share my screen. There. Yes, I really want to pick up on what's been talked about throughout this webinar. I think Shannon started off explaining the details of what the market's doing at the moment. Clearly a lot of research has been done by Medusa into the adventure tourism market as well. And I wanted to just draw everybody's attention to another sort of very rich resource of market information, which CBI produce. So this information is available to all of you through Jester and Jaitoa's website. There are links on there to finding the CBI market information, and you can connect on that and we'll find a list of reports there. And I think just to introduce this, although these market reports have been written with the idea that they're particularly used to tour operators, I think as we've heard today, the collaboration across the sector is critical for adventure tourism to grow, in terms of planning, regulation, marketing, developing the product, selling the product, packaging it, and everybody involved in building that adventure tourism sector needs to be aware of what it is that ultimately the consumer is going to want, that's going to give them a great trip, and that they're going to then share that information by word of mouth, either directly or with family and friends, and with on social media. So really understanding the market is of a huge importance to everybody involved. I was hoping to show this to you live, but I think with the with the internet and the problems of stability, I'm just going to show you sort of a range of screenshots here. But if you go on to the CBI's website, you'll find the tourism market information page has an infographic on it. So it lists the different reports, but it also has a section here that you can see that says go to the infographic. If you click on that, it will take you, so I'm just saying, problems moving my screen here. It'll take you to the next step, the infographic itself. You'll find this wheel that is, you'll find a wheel here, sorry, that looks like this. So the infographic shows you the main the main segments. It's got information about nature, adventure, culture, wellness, sport, etc. And if you click on this brown person, this adventure backpacker here, it will take you through to much more detailed information about the adventure sector. And on this page, you'll find a definition, just really reinforcing what's been said today, that adventure tourism is a tourism trip that includes at least two of the following three elements: a physical activity, natural environment, and cultural immersion. So there's a huge range of different types of products, different specialist niches that go into creating this very broad segment of adventure tourism. This infographic is being updated in the next month or two, and you'll find there also information about the market value. The adventure sector in 2020 was valued at well over $100 billion. So that really gives you an idea of what value there is there and what sort of opportunity there is. And if we just look at the European market, we can see that 100 million adventure trips to another country were taken, just even pre-pandemic. So there's a lot of opportunity there. For different people to get involved, and huge opportunities for Jordan. And if you click on the bottom of that page, it will take you to the reports themselves, and you'll find two reports on adventure tourism. There's one report about the market potential, which markets are of greatest interest geographically for adventure operators. And then there's another separate report on market entry, which provides you with a lot of detail about how to develop the product, what it is people are looking for, the regulations that you need to be aware of if you want to enter the European market. But going back to this this wheel on tourism, it's a bit too small to probably see there, but just breaking down the different elements and the different niches that are covered by the CBI's reports. There's a long list of different reports here that you can find, all of which can come under this, either this soft adventure activities, bird watching, community-based tourism, diving, etc. So looking for the different type of products that you're either looking to create, regulate, or market. You know, there's a lot of very valuable information there in each of those reports. Culture, again, very important. Food and wine. There's what we call the SAVE market, which is the scientific, academic, and volunteering market. And a lot of people, you know, tend to think of adventure as those hard, adrenaline-driven activities. And, you know, they in themselves come in many different forms. There's the land-based ones, snow and ice, which we thought maybe you'd be getting today. That could range from building products around snow mobiling, dog sledding, etc. But, you know, more relevant to your everyday activities, looking at land-based adventure activities. There's everything from different types of rock climbing, caving, zip lining, etc. So, you know, you could look at being very specialist within that market, and looking at how your product fits into that adventure, wider adventure segment. And that's particularly important, you know, when you're coming to think about where it is, how you market yourself. And, you know, this also reports here on ecotourism. If you look at that, you know, we're looking at agritourism, rural tourism, dark sky tourism, camping, I mean, a whole range of these niche operations. And what you're looking at here is also finding out about the product, but also the types of tour operators that are going to be interested in selling these products. And so, you know, if you're involved in them, involved in creating any of these experiences, who is it that you're going to be targeting in terms of partners or the particular consumer that you're looking at? And again, Shannon was talking earlier about the different types of sectors that are sold within the general tour operating market. And if we just look here at one of those tour operators, Intrepid, which is one of the global adventure tourism tour operators, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, but you can see here they're selling cycling, family adventure, food orientated holidays, walking, trekking, wildlife. So all these different products are being sold under this general banner of adventure. Equally, you can also find specialist tour operators around cycling, hiking, walking, wildlife. So when you're thinking about those different partners, it's really important to think broadly about the type of tour operators that might be interested in adventure and how they're selling it. And just really finally, I just wanted to make the point that, you know, with your rich cultural experience that you've got and the classic tours you sell, it's worth noting that, you know, adventure operators will always be highlighting the destination's key assets. So here we've got Explore, which is based in the UK, again, another very important outbound adventure tour operator. And the way they're selling Jordan is through highlighting its classic heritage. Petra is clearly, you know, key asset for the country, and they will be selling that. But what they're doing is that they're packaging it differently. So they're packaging it up, different ways of accessing Jordan, whether it's, you know, walking to accessing Petra, whether it's, you know, walking to them, or packaging it up with community experiences, with food and different cultural involvement that gives a much more local flavor. So, you know, even if you're involved in selling these cultural tours. There is no reason why you can't get involved in also thinking about what the adventure tourist wants, but understanding what that is and really what their needs are involves, you know, a good deal of research, and these reports can guide you in that direction. So just finally, just to point you to where you can find them, you can go to Jester's website and find the CBI market information link at the top of their homepage, and also on JITOA's website, you'll also find the link there that's at the top of the page. So that's just a very sort of quick run through of what you'll find on the CBI's website. We would very much welcome hearing from you from different types of organizations, tour operators, other organizations that are there, how you would, whether there's sort of support you need or some sorts of training that we could work with Jester and JITOA or JTB to think about providing with you to use this information and interpreting it for your business planning and marketing plans. So, you know, if you're interested in that, please contact Jester, JITOA, or Mr. Adelamin. Let us know what interests you, and, you know, over the next few months, we'll be looking at that and thinking about the best ways to help with that. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alison. Definitely, I mean, the information and the reports on CBI's website is quite huge. They have a huge data bank, let's put it this way, not only for adventure, but for other niche products. Thank you very much, Alison. On behalf of Mr. Sharhabil Madi, I apologize for not being able to deliver his speech, let's put it this way, but definitely he had sent me his presentation, which we will forward to every delegate who attended this this webinar. Mr. Shannon, if you can please tell us a little bit about ATTA and what can you do to your members, and what's the importance of being a member of ATTA, especially for the Jordanian tour operators and organizations. Thank you, sir.
Sure, thank you. And I'll keep it brief. I know we're at time here. Whoops. Apologies. So I think the most important thing is to recognize that being part of an adventure community globally is an opportunity not only to do business, but also to share knowledge and information. And I think that's one of the most important things. I really appreciated the speakers that I just heard this morning. I learned more, and this is part of why we have a community of adventure travel companies and professionals and governments and donors and other organizations from around the world, is that we're all in this together, and it needs all of us to share what we're learning to get through these challenging times. So just a real brief, what the ATTA is about. We have a community globally that we're focused on trying to protect natural and cultural capital through travel. And so just the basic nature of adventure and ecotourism does that. Our members are all around the world, about half in North America, 20% in Europe, and then it sort of spreads out around the world. So Jordan, a lot of our membership in the Middle East region is actually from Jordan because of our experience there. I would encourage you to join us as a member, and there's everything from the business membership, which gives you a lot of resources, to the professional, which is very affordable, and even an individual can do that. And then the community membership is actually free. So if you're in a situation right now where you can't invest any finances in a membership, join us at the community level, because you'll get a bunch of free resources from us, and you'll be connected to the community. We created this during the pandemic, knowing that there were going to be people who were laid off, that there were going to be businesses in a tough situation. And we encourage you to join and meet your European and North and Latin American and Asian and African colleagues. So we do networking, we work with the trade, we do events, we give exposure to consumers. We have a lot of tools to help tour operators, agents, destinations, and others. And I won't go through this, but again, the community membership is free. There's professional membership, and then there's business membership. We invite you to join us at any level that makes sense for you. We're working on carbon-friendly trips. We have resources to help you do that. We worked with a major medical clinic in the United States to create health and safety guidelines. And we actually have in-person events, and it's probably going to be hard to get from Jordan to these this year, maybe not. But just to let you know, we're coming back to life after 2 years of no events. We'll be in Panama in 2 weeks. We'll be in Oregon in May. And then our main event, the summit, will be in Switzerland in October. So we've done some research. Some of this is free and available on our website. And then I would just encourage you to subscribe to Adventure Travel News so that you can stay up to date. It's free. We don't give your information out to anybody ever. It's only for you to receive Adventure Travel News. And then there's some of our social media if you'd like to follow us there. But bottom line is we are looking forward to working with all the parties in Jordan. The committee that's a big committee of a lot of really amazing organizations within Jordan. And I'm really happy to see that happening. So thank you for letting me be a part today, and all the best to all of you. I hope to see you in person. We're hoping to bring Adventure Next back to Jordan at some point. We did 3 in a row, 2017, 18, and 19, and that was really, really exciting and good momentum building for the adventure industry. So we look forward to hopefully making that happen again.
Thank you very much, Shannon. It's always a pleasure having you with us. I ask Alison to join if possible. I wish to thank everybody who was with us today. Hopefully that it was a insightful and informative as much as possible. Alison.
Yes, thank you, Adele, and thank you to all the speakers, which has been fascinating. And I think what I really took from this was the sense of collaboration that everybody has shown. And, I think what was highlighted in terms of, what Shannon was saying, in terms of what the market's looking for, sustainability, don't cut out sustainability. I mean, we're hearing that in all the research we do, and absolutely essential for tourism going forward, but it's critical for adventure tourism. And, to have a sustainable, responsible destination requires that collaboration across the board. So, it's very exciting to see that, there are people here, from RSCN, from the ministry, from all the associations, and, really just very excited by what you've been able to achieve through setting up the Adventure Tourism Committee. So sustainability, quality is essential. If you're going to achieve that word of mouth, I think people think of quality as regulation. It's all a bit onerous, but again, just going back to that best form of marketing as word of mouth. Well, that's really challenging. To get good word of mouth, you've got to have a great product, and you've got to have a great product from the minute people start searching for their holiday online before they even think about where they're going to go. You've got to, attract them with the marketing. You've got to welcome them at the airport. You've got to give them a fantastic holiday and see them out, and look after them, and follow up when they've gone home. And that involves everybody. So yeah, big challenges. Again, collaboration is key. Again, safety, regulation. The market wants safety. They want to be adventurous, but they want to be safe. And the market is opening up. Already on the chat, we're seeing that really helpful information from America. Thank you there for telling us about the new flights that are coming in, new access from America. Hakim was talking about really, I think before everyone joined, great excitement in Spain, where he's been at Fitur recently. We're seeing in Europe people wanting to travel. People are talking about taking, 3-4 holidays this year, a lot of them in Europe, but increasingly outside Europe as well. There is a demand there, but that makes, every destination has to be incredibly competitive, because every destination has been waiting for 2 years to draw people back. So providing that, you know, really high quality adventure product is absolutely key. So thank you all for attending. I hope you found it useful. Do send us your questions. We'll answer those by email. We'll share the PowerPoint so that you can go back over those and use them. For CBI, this is sort of first in a series of webinars we're doing, really through discussions with Jester, Jaitoa, yourselves. We've had feedback about other markets that you're interested in, some of the less traditional ones from Jordan's point of view, particularly in view of the low-cost carrier access that's now being developed in Eastern Europe and the Baltic. So we're looking at that market. We're also looking at Scandinavia, and we're writing some research reports. We very much hope that those will be ready for beginning of March to be able to share them with you before ITB. So if people are interested in those markets, they've got just a bit of time to have a look at those reports, and later on they'll be online on the CBI website. So we'll be supporting those with 2 webinars, which will be, we'll look at the timing sort of after that, sort of, and come back to you about that. But, you know, we really welcome your feedback about what are the things that, you know, you are interested in the markets, and how we can help support you through Jester and Jaitoa. So really just thank you very much. You know, I've learned a lot. It's been really interesting to hear the international perspective and really what's happening in Jordan.
Thank you very much, Alison. Thank you, Jester. Thank you, Jaitoa. Thank you to each and every person who attended this webinar. شكرا كثير لكم. غلبناكم بهالأجواء الصعبة هاي. Hopefully we will remain in touch. As Alison mentioned, in March, hopefully we will have another session talking about some potential markets to Jordan, definitely in collaboration with all of you. And stay safe, stay warm. Shannon, you're enjoying sunshine, I think. So all the best to everybody, and we will meet soon.
Thank you, Mr. Adel. Thank you for all of you. Thank you, Mr. Shannon. Thank you for CPI for this value webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Have a lovely day.
Thank
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Have a
Bye
great
now.
day.